into a Mustang, they decided to put it into the 3,500-pound car. It came with a factory rear sway bar, 11.3-inch disc brakes in the front, and the regular drums on the back. All Boss 429s, as a matter of fact, all Boss cars, 351s and 302s, were only available with a 4-speed, always a top loader. Standard gear ratio was a 391, 411, and 430 were optional. Well, let's get to the motor. It came with steel crank, steel rods, actually a billet crank, 4-bolt mains, very, very tough bottom end. But the real magic was in the heads. The heads had a port that you could almost stuff a beer bottle in. All aluminum heads. Instead of head gaskets, they actually used O-rings. Aluminum intake, 735 Holley on top, the air grabber hood, which was functional from inside. Even though it was only rated at 375 horsepower, it was much stronger than that. Torque, 450 foot-pounds of torque, a big number in a 3,500-pound car. The suspension, no different than a Boss 302, which was now a Trans Am contender. Other than the extra weight up front, which was offset slightly by putting the battery in the back, this car was really a fairly good handling car.
The Boss 429 Ford Mustang is certainly one of the strangest cars ever built by any of the big three manufacturers.
And that's because it's an exotic race engine. It was a very powerful race engine. There's a lot of potential on the Boss 429 motor when you really talk about building one for race.
You know, they built the car to homologate the HEMI to take on Chrysler's HEMI. You know, the 429 engine was brand new. They had to put 500 in some car, at least, to make Bill France happy.
But as it was introduced in the Mustang, it didn't quite meet what expectations people had for it in the late 60s. They were looking, for a Chrysler HEMI killer, because Ford was taking the stab after Chevy had. They were looking for something that would run like a ZL1. What came out was a fast car, but it wasn't quite what people thought it was, so it got this reputation of being a soft runner or a pig.
Carcraft in Michigan hand-built the cars. The finished product was really lamented in the press. It was way too nose-heavy. They had to do so much to tone the Boss 429 engine down to make it livable on the street that it gutted the performance, supposedly.
You'll find out that, no, it's not a high 11-second, low 12-second screamer, but I think it'll nose out every single one of these cars in this competition.
And yet, through all that, when you look back on Mustang performance, what is probably the ultimate Mustang? I'd have to say it's probably Boss 429.
Definitely not the best car around the pylons. The car wants to step out a little, but really easy to throttle steer. Power steering works really nice. So very predictable car, but